I've applied for the National Endowment for the Humanities Summer Stipend. There's the support of the Center for Humanities, first of all, the feedback from the committee that reads the application, as well as knowing that the University Center for Humanities is behind that application is also a nice benefit. Should you not receive the NEH, the Center still stands behind that proposal and will provide you with some funds either to match the difference between a summer research grant and the NEH stipend, or to provide some funds separately to complete that project. I've applied for the NEH Summer Stipend to travel to Berlin next summer to conduct archival research in the German Federal Archives and the German Foreign Office Archives. This project builds on my previous book project, which looked at lobbying organizations in Nazi Germany who did domestic work trying to keep alive the memory of Germany's overseas empire, which again they lost after the First World War. So I looked at their propaganda activities and their kind of tensions between those organizations and the Nazi regime. But it was mostly focused on the domestic scene in Germany. So now I'm interested in taking that project and expanding it by looking at Germans who moved overseas. So the material that I'll be gathering in Berlin, or that I hope to gather in Berlin, is to help start a new project, a new book project that I'm just beginning, which will look at Germans who moved to what is today Tanzania, was at the time the British Mandate of Tanganyika in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And this was a territory that used to be a German colonial territory before the First World War. So I'm interested in Germans who moved there and set up a community in what is today Tanzania. I think there might be a later stage where I'll have to go to Tanzania. The records of the German Foreign Office, for example, that I'll be looking at are the records from the German consulate in Nairobi that have since been sent back to Berlin. So those were records created by Germans in Nairobi that are now housed in Berlin. So it's an interesting place to look at Anglo-German imperial competition. It used to be a German territory, now it's a British territory. And so both of these European nations have claims and interests in controlling the territory and increasing their British or German populations. And it's also an interesting period to look at the creation of a diaspora German community, and also once the Nazis come to power in Germany, the relationship between that community and the Nazi regime back in Germany. The Germans were not allowed to move back to this territory, which again was a German colony, before the First World War until 1925. So after 1925, they start moving back in, and some British authorities are not particularly happy about this. They keep a close eye on the German community. They're concerned about this kind of irredentism that the Germans would try to claim this territory back from the British. The NEH grants are very competitive. There's people from across the country in various different disciplines of the humanities who are applying, so it's a very competitive process. It's a challenge to try to write your proposal in a way that speaks to people who don't know anything about your discipline or your approach, but it's also a very productive process of figuring out how to explain your work to a broader audience.